Chapter 5. Here Comes Kitty. Milton Hershey didn't spend all his time working. In 1897, he met Catherine Sweeney, who was nicknamed Kitty, at a candy shop in upstate New York, where he had traveled to sell caramel. She and Milton began seeing a lot of each other. She later moved to New York City, and he visited her often there. Hershey didn't tell anyone back home about Kitty until after they were married in May 1898. His family and the candy company workers were very surprised when he first brought her home. Hershey was 41. At the time, a successful and serious businessman, Kitty was only 26 and enjoyed shopping, entertaining, and having fun. Together, they would make a terrific team. In 1900, with his chocolate dreams in mind, Hershey sold the Lancaster Caramel Company for $1 million. A new century was starting, and America was about to get its first candy bar. After the sale, Milton took Kitty to Europe. They visited many countries in Europe, including France, Germany, and Austria. They also traveled to Egypt, where they rode on camels near the famous pyramids. Milton also made sure to try many types of candy. He was always looking for new ideas for his company. Milton loved spending time with Kitty away from the factory. With her, he could relax and not be the boss. Milton liked to gamble and play cards. Unlike other very wealthy businessmen, he didn't spend much money on himself, but he loved to buy Kitty jewels and furs. Sadly, he also had to spend money on many doctors. Though Kitty seemed healthy, she had a disease that often weakened her muscles. Milton did his best to help her. He took her to doctor after doctor, trying to find a cure. No one could stop the disease, but they did try to make her feel better. Kitty's illness meant that she could not have children, and that was a terrible disappointment. But Milton and Kitty found a way to have many children, be a part of their lives. Even before he had the perfect formula for milk chocolate, Milton took another big risk. He bought 1,200 acres in nearby Deary Church. Hershey wanted to build a huge chocolate factory in a town for all of its workers. He planned everything from the start so that it would all be perfect. Before the Hershey factory made one chocolate bar, Milton had laid out the streets and parks of his town. He hired architects to design the homes and buildings. He included a bank, a zoo, and schools. Hershey even set up a trolley car line to help workers get around town and travel to and from the factory. Then he built the huge factory. Its giant smokestacks had his name in big letters, Hershey. Hershey tried something else new. He made chocolate on an assembly line. An assembly line is a way to make a product by adding one thing at a time as the product moves along a work line, instead of one worker making a product all by himself. The steps are divided up among many workers. Each is in charge of one step, which the worker does over and over. Products can be made faster and in greater numbers this way. In Detroit, Henry Ford had used the assembly line to make cars. The plant soon sent the smell of chocolate floating all over the valley. As the workers moved into the town, they enjoyed the smell too. Though the town did not have an official name yet, people were already calling it the sweetest place on earth. While his dream town and factory grew, Hershey kept experimenting with chocolate. Finally, by early 1904, he was satisfied. He had a way to make milk chocolate that could be shipped safely. It was sweet, creamy, and could be molded into bars. It would last for several days without being kept cold. All of America, not just Pennsylvania, was about to get its first real taste of milk chocolate. Each bar was wrapped in dark maroon paper with large gold letters that said Hershey. Each bar cost just 5 cents. By 1905, the factory was making much as 100,000 pounds of chocolate a day. Chocolate the Hershey way. After the cacao beans were picked, cleaned, and dried, they were roasted. A special machine rolled the beans to take off the hard outer shells. Then the beans were ground into a liquid called cacao liquor. The liquid was mixed with sugar, vanilla, milk, and any flavors needed. Huge machines mixed and stirred all the ingredients together in a secret process. This resulted in a coarse powder called chocolate crumb. Cocoa butter was added, and then the chocolate was mixed again. After the mixture was right, machines poured the liquid chocolate into molds. The molds put Hershey's name in each bar. After the chocolate cooled, a worker knocked the bars out of the mold with a hammer. Then the bars were wrapped in paper and put into boxes. Chapter 6. Chocolate Town, USA. Milton Hershey made great chocolate, but he also made a great town. The idea of building a whole town from company's worker was not new. Some coal miners had done the same thing in the late 1800s. The Pullman Company, which made railroad cars, had a company town in Illinois. But those towns were not nearly as nice as Hershey, Pennsylvania. In other company towns, the houses were not very well made. The workers had to buy all the food at the company store, too, where the prices were often too high. There was nothing to do for fun in those towns either. In Hershey's town, he included parks and theaters. Hershey houses were comfortable and attractive. They had electricity and indoor plumbing. At the time, many American homes still did not have flush toilets. After the years went on, Hershey kept adding to the town. In 1904, he built a library and a post office. In 1905, he built a bank so that workers could save their money. Also in 1905, a zoo was added. The Hershey Park Zoo caused some problems. The monkeys were very good at escaping, but townspeople just called the zoo when they saw them scampering onto their lawns. Another time, a worker found a little monkey footprint in the chocolate factory. In 1907, he opened a huge park for all residents. In 1910, he opened a general store so that they could shop close to home. Over the years, he gave money to different religious groups so that they could build churches in the town too. Milton chose all the street names in his town. Many had something to do with chocolate. You might live on streets named for Java or Ceylon, places where cacao beans were grown. Arba Avenue was named for the type of cacao bean. The town's main intersection was Chocolate Avenue and Cocoa Avenue. Hershey was different from many very rich men of the time. He felt very strongly that anyone who had plenty of money ought to share it. Though he never followed a particular religion, he said he followed the golden rule. He wanted to do for other people what he hoped they would do for him. His workers made the chocolate that made him rich. So he wanted to make sure that they shared in his success. In fact, he gave them a bonus each year from the company's profits. Hershey brought chocolate to America, but his idea on how a business owner should conduct himself was probably more important. The town really needed a name. In 1904, the U.S. Post Office said it needed to know where mail should be sent. A contest was held to pick a name. Among the finalists were Beansdale, Majestic, St. Milton's, and Zenith. The winner was Hershey Cacao. But the post office turned that one down. It sounded like a product, not a town. Finally, the choice was obvious. In 1906, the new town was officially named Hershey, Pennsylvania.